So welcome back. Our friends at Lomography sent us another lens, the Lomo LC-A Minitar-1. And this is a very interesting lens, so let's go to unboxing it. I do want to note that this is a demo unit that they've sent around, so it's a bit, it's showing a bit of wear and tear, but it's no indication of the build of the lens because a lot of people have been using this specific lens. So let's go to unboxing and take a look at what's in the box. As always, Lomography has a very satisfying unboxing experience. The box is just amazing. Now, when we open it up, it's missing that usual booklet that we have that shows photos from other photographers using the lens, but again, that's okay. This is a test unit, a demo unit, and off the bat, we can see that this lens is really slim. This is actually including the adapter over here. So I want to give you a look at what it looks like with the adapter. Let me bring it up here. This is what the lens looks like with the adapter. Sorry. There. That's the lens with the adapter. Now I'm going to try and remove the adapter here. It's a bit tricky because it is really tiny. So bear with me while you watch me struggle unmounting the adapter. There we go. So this is the adapter right here. Let me show that to you up here in the other camera. That is the adapter. The adapter alone is already small. It's really slim because this is a Leica mount to Sony E-mount, and this is the actual lens itself. It is so slim. If you can take a look at that, it is so tiny, and the image quality we get out of this is pretty interesting. We'll get to that in a moment. We're going to go around and shoot with this lens. But there are a couple of pros and cons with this lens being this small. First pro, the lens is tiny. This is the definition of a pancake lens, right? It is a 32mm f2.8. It's a Leica, I believe it's an M mount. So adapted to Sony, it gets a bit thicker, but still a really thin profile, right? Now, another pro is it goes all the way to f2.8, so that is a very, pretty good aperture. It's pretty wide. It's easy. Let me take that aside there. So it goes really wide in terms of the aperture, and it stops down all the way to f22. So there we go. Now, the image quality on this could be a pro or a con, but it does give off a very wonderfully vintage looking image. You got a bit of heavy vignetting there, and we'll go talk about the image quality more in a bit. One con I would mention is the focusing. For a 32mm lens, the minimum focus distance on this is 0.8 meters, which is not close at all. So that's one thing that might detract from wanting to use this. You can't really get close. Now, an interesting thing here is the focusing system and the aperture system. I'll start off with the focusing here. You've got a focus lever, which goes from 0.8 meters to 1.5 meters to 3 meters and then infinity, right? So that's great for quick zone focusing. I've tried it already, and you get things in relative focus, and that's great, but it's not great if you're going to want to do something like portrait work where you do want to achieve critical focus. This might be a challenge. Now, the aperture control is very interesting. Now, I want to note there's a knob usually that's here that will allow me to change the aperture, but again, this is a demo unit. It's been sent to several people, and I think the knob broke off. It was sent to me that way, but I can still change the aperture because you've got ridges here, and you can still get a good grip on that aperture ring and give it a turn. And like I said, from f2.8 all the way to f22. Very interesting. Now, probably the most concerning aspect of this lens, its biggest drawback, is that it has a very tiny filter thread, and a very odd one at that. It uses a 22.5 filter thread, because that lens element right there, let me bring it up here, that is tiny as heck, right? So 22.5 is a really, really small filter thread. I could not find a filter thread for this locally, adapter for it. So I'm unable to test it for video use unless I crank up the shutter or the aperture, really narrow aperture. We'll see if we can get it, we can test it for video. But that's the only other drawback for this. Aside from that, this lens is an amazingly compact lens. It's a very interesting lens. So we'll go ahead and give it a use, and let's see what we get out of it. All right. So it has been just over a week, just about a week since I got this lens. And it is a pretty interesting lens. Now, I normally shoot portraits, but I've been using this a lot for street photography. I did try doing a couple of photos, self-portraits, but I'll let you know why in a second here, why I don't think that this is something you could use for portraits. I mean, you could, obviously, but it's not ideal. So we'll start off with pros. LC-A Minitar-1, definitely an interesting lens. First pro is obviously the size. This thing is tiny. If you're looking for a tiny lens, this is the lens for you. This is the definition of what a pancake lens should be. It's a bit heavy for its build because it is a solid build, all aluminum and glass. So that's great. The build quality is great, and all for the price of $230 US. A 32mm f2.8 lens. Definitely a bargain. You get a nice tiny lens, decent sized lens, perfect for street photography. Image quality, hit or miss depending on what you're looking for, but if you're looking for a lot of character, this thing has it. The color rendition and the contrast is very unique. Heavy vignetting, if that's what you're looking for, this has it. Solid build, good size, good price, interesting image quality. Cons though, there are a couple. There is no perfect lens, and the first con on this lens is the minimum focusing distance, which is 0.8 meters. Now, the general rule of thumb I follow is whatever the focal length is in millimeters, that's usually the corresponding minimum focusing distance in meters. So a lens with 50mm focal length would be 0.5 meters in terms of its minimum focusing distance. So something in the range of 30 would have a 0.3 meter minimum focusing distance. This is a 32mm lens, and its minimum focusing distance again is 0.8 meters. That's almost a meter, and that's really on a somewhat wide lens. So it's hard to get close to your subject. You're not going to get them in focus when you try to get close. That's the first con. I missed a lot of shots because I thought I could, I'd be in focusing range, but I'm too close and things tend to be out of focus. So that's the first con there. And the only other con really for me is that filter thread size. The lens is tiny. So it has a tiny filter thread of 22.5. And I could not find an adapter or a filter that would fit the size of 22.5 millimeters. Now, depending where you are in the world, you might have better luck in finding an adapter or a lens filter. But from where I'm from, I had no luck. So yeah, definitely an interesting lens, a solid buy. Great for street photography. I've tried to use it for a couple of self-portraits. I don't know if I'm going to use it for portraits. I've got a couple of shoots coming up. But let me know your thoughts. Are you getting this lens? Do you have this lens? Comment down below and let's discuss. Cheers.